goblins, and welcome back. My name is Mel, and today is my first Knock It Out November check-in. So if you don't know what Knock It Out November is, this is a readathon, not readathon, hosted by Cassidy, and she just basically said that she was going to do a bunch of goals for herself in November and try to knock out those goals, and she invited everybody else to come along. So that's what Knock It Out November is. I will link the announcement video down in the description if you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I figured rather than vlogging Knock It Out November, I would just do two different check-ins with you guys just to kind of see where I'm at in my goals and walk you through me buying some books if I'm able to. We're going to do one now at the midway point of the month, and then we'll do another one at the end of the month and just kind of see how I did. So just a recap of my goals, I had continue a series, finish a series, mood read, read an arc, TBR vet, anticipated book, and indie book. So 7 goals. Let's pull up my call pile and just see how I've done so far. I haven't looked at any of this, so I don't know how I'm doing. I don't know what it's gonna look like. I don't know anything. So these aren't really in the actual order that I read them, so I'm gonna try to go through these in the order that I remember reading them. But the first book that I started this month was The Golden Enclave by Naomi Novik. And this one completed, I think, a couple of different goals. No, just the one goal. So this one completed number 2 to finish a series. The Golden Enclaves was the conclusion to the Scholomance series, and this is one that I always loved the idea better than the execution, and unfortunately that was the same in this one. I felt like it was kind of an unnecessary book. I think that I see what she was trying to do and what she was trying to build up to, but because you had the first 2 books so isolated in the Scholomance, and then she tried to expand the world all in one book, but she took most of the first half to have like a pining, grieving teenager, and I don't know, it felt like the focuses were in the wrong places, and I honestly didn't feel like this last book was even needed. It rushed through the ending, and I don't know, it didn't work for me. I wanted the series to either be longer and expand the world more, or to have made it a duology and cut it off, kind of done the ending a little bit different with the second Scholomance book and cut it off at a duology. But I did finish the series, so we can check that one off the list. That is 1 goal down. And then the next 3 that I read were a couple of novellas, and these were not on my TBR, and the only reason that I read them was for a vlog. So we had River of Teeth by Sarah Gailey, Hard Reboot by Django Wexler, and Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Did not love any of these novellas. I feel like I'm not really sure where to count these because they were mood reads. I didn't have to read them, but I don't necessarily think I would call them mood reads because I wasn't really in the mood. And then I guess you could consider Elder Race a TBR vet because it's been on my TBR for a while. Emma wanted me to read it, and I kept telling her I was going to. I'd seen it around and had wanted to read it, but just never did. You could also probably consider Hard Reboot a TBR vet. Same concept. Heard about it a while ago. Kind of filed it in the back of my mind as wanting to read it, but never actually did. I don't know if I truly want to consider either one of these TBR vets, though, simply because they aren't actually, like, they weren't on the official TBR. Like, I don't own them. I just kind of had them in the back of my mind as books that I wanted to read. I don't know. I think I'm just going to count those once, and we're just going to knock off 1 anticipated book because I just don't feel like either one of them qualifies enough to stand on their own. Elder Race and Hard Reboot both I enjoyed, but I wanted more from. Elder Race is Tchaikovsky's style. It's very dry and not the most engaging for me. River of Teeth was just not at all what I was expecting. It was more of a historical read. I don't like historical reads. I didn't engage with it at all. It just was not my thing. Then we have probably The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This was a reread for me, so I don't really think it's gonna count for any of the goals either because it's not a TBR vet. I've read it before. It's starting a series, so it's not continuing or finishing. I was not in the mood to read it, so it's not a mood read, not an arc, not an anticipated book, and not an indie book. Technically, it was an indie book once upon a time, but it's not now. I guess you could call it an anticipated book because it was for the Backlist Book Club, but I wasn't like really wanting to read it, so I don't think I can count this for Knock It Out November. Wow, I am off to a really, really crappy start. Big yikes. But there's an entire live show on Cassidy's channel that covers this book in its entirety, what we thought about it. It's full of spoilers, but there is a solid like 20-minute chunk at the beginning where we talked about the book spoiler free, so I'll link that down below rather than hashing it all out again. But let's just say that the reread did not go well for me. I ended up giving it from a low 4-star, dropped it down to a 2.5, so was not really the reread that I was hoping for, but here we are. Then I read From Below by Darcy Coates. Now, Cassidy, Kaylee, I feel like we've all kind of been on a Darcy Coates kick, and I don't really know why, other than they're just a really good time, and they're quick, they're fun. So I have actually read 3 so far this month. From Below, so far has been the one that I've liked the most. We'll get to the third one, and it's kind of an iffy situation, but I'm going to count it anyway. From Below I read while I was at the beach, and it is a water horror, so it was the absolute perfect setting to read that book, and I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was a little bit too long, but all in all, I had a great time. It kind of scratched that water horror itch and made me want more all at the same time. So that one is definitely going to be considered a mood read and an anticipated book because I've really, really been wanting to read that one for a long time, and it was just a spur of the moment. I'm gonna pick it up because I'm in the mood for it. So there's 4 goals that we knocked off. Redeeming myself just a little bit here. And then let's do the next Darcy Coates, and that was Craven Manor. This one I did not like quite as much. It flips from the water horror kind of vibe back toward her haunted house kind of vibes. This one was trying to do a lot, and I know that it's because she's trying to keep the haunted house story from getting stale, but it just went a little too over the top for me, and the characters were kind of insufferable. I don't know. I didn't mind Bran and Daniel, but the cousin was intentionally awful. I don't know. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think that one ended up being like a low 3-star, something like that. But that one was definitely considered a mood read because Cassidy was like, hey, you want a buddy read it? And I was like, sure, and just picked it up. So that one was definitely a mood read. I don't think it's really going to classify as any of the others. You may be sitting here yelling at me saying Darcy Coates books are indie. Yes, but they are published now by Source Books, who is an indie publisher, meaning not one of the big 5 publishers. But when I say indie, I'm meaning more self-published, not big indie publisher behind them, if that makes sense. So I'm not really counting Darcy Coates for an indie book. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there so that people are not like screaming, Darcy is an indie, why aren't you counting this? Is that 5? I think that's 5. Okay. Then we had Stones of Light by Zach Argyle. This is for mine and Cassidy's Patreon buddy read. I think it's the top 2 tiers of mine that you can join and buddy read a book with us. We're doing series, and we usually do them every other month. Stones of Light is the second in the Threadlight series, and don't know if we're going to be reading the third. It's not really working for a lot of us. I'm bored. I never got hooked enough by the characters or the world in the first book, and I think that was not easily redeemable in the second because you never hooked me. And so even though I knew what was going on, I just wasn't overly invested or engaged. And I do feel like he's trying to do a little too much, and he's breaking his own rules and things like that. So that one just did not overall work for me. However, it does mark off continue a series. It does mark off an indie book. So that is 2 goals that Stones of Light knocks off. So at least it was good for that, right? Well, let's do this last one. Katie Robert, Kraken Sacrifice. This was the officially unofficial Late Night Crew book club, and I actually just finished this one. It was an okay time. I liked the characters better than The Dragon's Bride, but it didn't grip me as much. I agree with some people that said it was too heavy of subject matter for such a little bitty book that was supposed to be fun and smutty. There really wasn't a lot of smut to it. I'm not rating this one. It's not one that I probably would have really just picked up on my own. We just had a good time reading it all together, laughing about the not safe for work cover, and it was just a good live show, but it was not a book that I'm going to rate. However, it does count for anticipated indie and continue a series. I don't really feel like I should count it for all 3 of those. Okay, well, I guess it knocks off 3. So that's 10 now? 10 goals? that I've managed to knock off so far. Okay, and then the next one is Blood of the Chosen by Django Wexler. This one is the sequel to Ashes of the Sun, which if you know me, you know that I read earlier this year and really, really enjoyed. It was the perfect book for the perfect moment. Unfortunately, because it was the perfect book for the perfect moment, I'm not loving this second one quite as much. The younger characters and the younger writing style is starting to be more apparent to me. I'm not feeling quite as invested in the characters or the plot as I was hoping. It's still a good book, and I still think it'll be probably a low 4-star when I actually put it through everything, but it's just not what I was hoping based off of what I remember of Ashes of the Sun. And I'm still enjoying it, so I don't want it to sound like I'm knocking on it too much, but that one is going to continue a series, and it's also going to be an anticipated book for sure. So that knocks off 2 goals. We're now at 12. Then let's talk about 2 books that I have not yet finished, but I'm going to count because by the time this video goes live, I should have finished a lot of them. First one is Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. This one was another mood read for sure. I was not planning to read it, and Cassie was like, just pick it up, and so I did. I got about halfway through it, and then that was the point where Cassie was like, it's really going to pick up and you're not going to be able to put it down. And I had some reads that I had to get done, so it ended up kind of going on the back burner. So I will definitely have finished this by the time this video goes live, so that's why we're going to count it. So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm not as hooked in the beginning of it as I was From Below, but I've heard that it's the second half that really has a kicker, and it's been super creepy. You can tell that it and From Below were written like on the more newer side because her writing style you can just really see have evolved, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So that one counts for mood read for sure. So that's 13 goals. And then last but not least, we're going to do Emperor of Ruin by Django Wexler. This is the final book in the Burning Blade and Silver Eye, the Blood of the Chosen, Ashes of the Sun series. I am going to be buddy reading this with Brie and Cassidy. We all have arcs. It does not come out until I think late January, early February of next year, but we're just going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to knock it out, and it's going to be a good time. So I'm really excited to read that with both of them. And because it will be done by the time this video goes live, we're going to count it for read an arc and finish a series. So that is 15. I'm not buying 10 books because I don't have money to buy 10 books. So, okay. So let me back up. I have actually already bought 3 books in anticipation of this. The first one was the special edition of Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence from Broken Binding. Have I read this book? No. Have I been told that I will love this book? Yes, so I bought it anyway, especially when I heard that they were going to be doing the rest of the trilogy, and that was the main thing that was keeping me from buying those. So I'll pop up a picture of the cover here. It's not here yet, but I'm super, super excited to get it. And then I also bought 2 Darcy Coates books from Pango Books, and so I bought Gallows Hill because I think I'm going to really, really enjoy that one. So I purchased that one, and then I also got the Fulcroft Ghost. This one is one of her older ones that looked really, really good. It's about kids that go to stay with their remaining relatives, their grandparents, when their mother's hospitalized, but turns out that maybe their grandparents are not quite as nice as they thought they were. So that one sounds really interesting. That's 3 books that I have purchased. So let's just look at my wish list. I think I'm going to allow myself to buy maybe 2 others. Hey everybody, so unfortunately the footage for the rest of this video was not usable, so I'm just going to do a quick outro here. I actually decided I'm not going to buy any more books after kind of looking at everything and thinking about my goals and how achievable or not achievable those are, looking at what I was able to do in the first half of the month. I really feel like 1 book per every 5 goals completed is pretty good, and since I've already done the Broken Binding of the Prince of Thorns and the 2 Darcy Coates books from Pango, I think I'm going to call that good because I completed 15 goals. So 15, 3 books seems reasonable to me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know down in the comments what your goals are and how you're doing with them. Have you been able to complete any of your goals? Are you doing a good start, or are you struggling a little bit halfway through the month? Can't believe we're already halfway through the month. I'll be honest with you, there is a stack of things that I still want to get to, so fingers crossed that I can actually manage to get to them. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to hang out with me a little bit further, you can find my Patreon linked down below, as well as links to my Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads. If you guys liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you want it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!